Okay, so our topic today is academic task one map. All right, so my name is Kevin. If for those who still don't know my name, I will be your lecturer for today and quite possibly for the rest of your IELTS experience here in Cabanatuan branch. So, what is map in terms of your academic task one? So, first of all, we shall have a further understanding of what our lecture's objectives are. So, first of all, we want to try and understand diagrams that indicate a map. So, if my task is a map, what are the ways in which I can approach this um, in a structure that will be appreciated by the examiner. So that is our first objective. We want to understand what maps are in the IELTS Writing Task 1 academic module and how can I interpret the task using my own perception. So another objective that I want you guys to put in front of us would be to identify the parts required from a Writing Task 1 map. So not only are you going to provide a statistical report, you shall also present them in a manner that is coherently and logically arranged. So this task follows certain rules. So it is imperative that that candidates like us who will be taking this exam should understand what the parts are for and what are the ways in which I can make these parts play the roles specified for them. So if the role of the introduction is to do this certain thing, then I shall be the one to make sure that it does the specific task for it. So that is our second objective, to identify the parts required from a writing task one in MAP. And lastly, to be able to write for the different parts of the writing task, not only accurately, but cohesively within the prescribed time. Now, when it comes to time, this is something that I would like to put a highlight on. Excuse me. So we want to write the task as accurately as possible, as cohesive as possible. When you say cohesive, it flows using the proper connecting devices. It uses the words, the language that are appropriate. And then there is a prescribed time for you to finish it. So many of you still don't understand what a writing subtest in the IELTS is. And to be honest, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Okay, I want to be very brief with you. I want to be very concise when it comes to understanding the writing subtest. Writing is the most difficult task in the IELTS, and perhaps one of the few reasons why many people are discouraged in taking this exam, and they are much more encouraged in taking other English tests, other options. For let's say if I want to go to the US, I would probably take TOEFL, or if I want to go to the UK, I'd probably go with OET, or if I want to go to Australia, I'd probably want to take PTE instead, because writing is very difficult. Now, the thing is, yes, writing is difficult because you are only given 1 hour. That's entire 60 minutes. And examiners are expecting us to produce not only one, but two tasks. And for your module, your task one is a statistical report, which is specifically what I'm talking about right now, is a map. Now, your task two is much more difficult. Task two is 67% of your total writing score. But we are not here to talk specifically about what a task two is, because we have provided, okay, and we are providing lectures for that. And those lectures are your writing task two major, you have your writing an essay, you have your common mistakes in writing tasks. So you have a total of 10 lectures writing task two alone. So we will be doing your first writing task two lecture live, okay? Specific task description, agree, disagree, this coming Thursday. If I'm not mistaken, it will be on Thursday. So attend that and you will know more about writing task two. Now let's jump right into our topic, which is writing task one. Now for an entire hour, examiners will be giving you two tasks to complete. Your task 2, as I've mentioned, is essay writing, which you must complete for 40 minutes. So in 40 minutes, you are going to produce, you're going to yield an output that has 250 words minimum. That is for task 2. And you begin with task 2 on the actual exam. Now, this is the time that I need to do task 1. Your task 1, you will allot specifically 20 minutes for you to complete the entire task. So for 20 minutes, examiners are expecting you to produce 150 words minimum. Okay, so your task is to write a task that consists of 150 words or more, which is actually we're inclined to use more words for this, for 20 minutes. So that is what you're going to do. Not only that you're going to provide the certain parts for each of the individual areas of your report, but also you have to do that within the prescribed time. For beginners, of course, it would come off as really a very difficult thing, a very, very tough topic to do. It's a tall order for beginners, but I've had students in the past who struggled greatly more, okay, who struggled more greatly in task 1 than in task 2. And I've discussed this on my previous lectures that in the Philippines, Filipinos are performing better in task 2, which was supposed to be the most difficult part than in task 1. So that says a lot for this. Many people don't have a clear idea of what a task 1 is. So they are sort of like underplaying, okay? They're like belittling, they're like mocking task 1, like, task 1 lang naman yan eh. Bakit kailangan ko siyang seryosohin? That is their idea. And it sorts of like affect them negatively because the scores that they're getting are not enough for them to either get a score legible for a university study or perhaps a professional work visa. So that is very important. So we want to make sure that not only we are going to be good in task 2, but we also want to be accurate in dealing with task 1. So together, that is your entire journey here. You have to make sure that you will get an overall understanding of what every task 2 question is, and for me to have a specific idea how to respond to them. Not only that, but I also need to have a personal, okay, professional relationship with task 1 that will enable me to understand it much better so that I can prepare much better on my test. So that is what a writing task 1 is, and that is our objective for today. So now, what to expect? Okay, I'm going to clear my drawing. So what to expect? Your writing task 1 for your module consists of 1 statistical figure. So I want to repeat myself here that your module for your task 1 consists of 1 statistical figure. Now, let me tell you this. This one is actually not very correct because your task can either be a static or a process. So let me just highlight this. It could be a static or it could be a process. Now, when you say static, they are your statistical report, which consists of line graph, bar graph, table, and pie chart. So for you to understand better what statics are, what processes are, what is task 1 in general, I have a lecture which was conducted last week. The topic of that lecture is writing task 1 major academic. So it tells about the comparison of statics and processes. Now, sir, I have not had the opportunity to attend that lecture. So what is a general idea of a static as compared to processes? Okay, so hear me out. You know the general idea, they are completely different from one another. Okay, they are completely separated. They are completely different entities. Like statics are very different from processes. That's the entire idea here. So when it comes to statics, as I've mentioned, you have your pie chart. you have your line graph, you have your bar graph, you have your table, and you have to produce a statistical report, okay, that sounds not only academic, comparative, but also statistical in nature. That's what makes statics difficult. So when it comes to statics, what is the most common static that comes out in the exam for an entire year? Ano yung madalas lumabas? And the answer to that question, table. Table is the most difficult. Table comes out much more often as compared to the rest of its static group. Okay? Now for processes, you also have a variety of different types of processes. So we have your diagram. We have your illustrations that presents images of processes about how something works or how something is created. Like, you ever wonder how are pencils made? So you will see a process in your task, how pencils are made. That is considered a process. Okay, it could compare two different images. Like, the first image is a cellular phone in 1999, and this cell phone is an image of a cell phone in 2009, and the last one is an image that depicts a cell phone in 2019. So your task here is to compare those three cellular phones statistically. That is also considered a process. Now, what is the most common process? Map, which is exactly why are we here. We want to understand the nature of a map and how to come up with a statistical report that will be appreciated by the examiner when they assess our performance. So for your task here, you have to complete it. Okay, so the completion of your task is specifically necessary. Okay, it is really important that you complete your task. And how to complete the task, you have to write an information about a report that you must comply with at least 150 words. So when you say at least 150 words, you cannot write less than 150 words because there will be penalty. And those penalties are very serious. Okay, so what are those penalties? What are those deductions? I will tell you later. Okay, now you should complete the task for 20 minutes. So, sir, why 20? I thought that my writing subtest consists of 1 hour or 60 minutes. So why are you only showing here that I have 20 minutes to complete the task? Well, if you guys do not remember yet, you have your task 2, which you have 40 minutes. So if you're going to divide them, okay, 40 minutes of your 1 hour goes to task 2 and 20 minutes goes to task 1. So that is the expected division. You cannot do a 30-30 approach here. Why? Because if you guys know, task 2 requires you to write 250 words. Whereas in task 1, you will be writing 150 words. So if you're going to understand the scenario here, you are going to spend more time doing something which requires you to write more words. And that is your task 2. That's why it's 40 minutes and not 30. And in task 1, you only are going to write 150 words, technically much shorter. You're not going to spend that much time. So you have to complete that in 20 minutes. That is what you should expect in task 1. And to be honest, in processes, personally, this is my personal opinion. My opinion could be different from yours. Your opinions could be different from others. So this is just my share of the pie. That I find processes much easier to write about. I find processes generally easier as compared to statics. And you know why? Because in static, you will not only see one pie chart. You will not just see one bar graph. You will not just see one line graph, or you will not just see one table. You will see 4 pie charts maximum. You will see 2 bar graphs and 1 line graph below. You will see 3 line graphs, and you will see 2 tables plus 1 pie chart. So if you are trying to compare, if you're, understanding the scenario that we're in, static writing consists of multiple figures. You will not just see 1, it's a minimum of 2, maximum of 4. So it makes it a bit more difficult for test takers, especially when it comes to the bulky type of discussion that you're going to present. Now, in processes, you will just only see 1 process, 1 cycle, comparison of 3 images, which are technically a bit easier, in my opinion. So later on, even though all of us are considered difficult by some people, I think that in the end, processes are still easier as compared to statics. That's just my opinion. Now, any questions with regard to the comparison between a static and process? Guys, do you have any questions so far when it comes to their comparison?
Answer.
Okay, thank you so much for answering, Emil. Now let's continue, okay? So marking, how will the examiner assess your work? So examiners will use what we call band descriptors. So the band descriptors, again, I will repeat, band descriptors. They describe, hence the term descriptors, they describe your performance in terms of numerical data. So they use certain parameters, they use certain measuring standards as to why I should give this score to Kevin and not this score, because Kevin has statistically, numerically achieved this standard, which is enough for me to give him a 7, a 7.5, or even 8. Okay, so, and we call them band descriptors, and the marking is divided into 4. The first one is task accomplishment. Task accomplishment is perhaps the most important among them. Okay, so why did I tell you that task accomplishment is perhaps the most important among the band descriptors that examiners use to assess your exam performance? Well, first, it's because, take a look at this. You are going to produce a task that consists of 150 words, okay? 150 words. Now, the question that many of you would have is, sir, what if I wasn't able to complete the task? I wasn't able to reach 150 words. Now, I will also share with you by the end of this lecture the official answer sheets that are used in the exam. So those answer sheets, okay, those answer sheets, you have the listening, you have the reading, you have the writing task 1, you have the writing task 2 answer sheets. So those answer sheets allow us to practice in under the same conditions of the test. So we're trying to condition ourselves into thinking that, hey, when I practice, I use the official answer sheet. So when I take the exams, it's not going to be a lot of adjustments. So you will not be adjusting yourself too much because you are already used to using the official answer sheet. And in the end of the answer sheet, I just want to share you this. At the end of the answer sheet, you will see the exact same words that I'm talking about. TA, that stands for task accomplishment, CC for coherence and cohesion, LR for lexical resource, GRA for grammatical range and accuracy. And they represent these markings. So first, you have to write 150 words. Again, let's go back to the question. Sir, I was not able to comply. I submitted my paper and I only wrote, let's say, 149. Can you guys picture this out? You wrote a 149 report. To be honest, that is just 1 word short of your 150 minimum word requirement. And your automatic TA score here, your automatic TA score will be 5. That's gonna hurt because if your TA score is 5, even if you get 8 for coherence, even if you get 8 for grammar, even if you get 8 for vocabulary, you add them together, you divide it by 4. Well, sir, that is still 7. So 8 plus 5, that's a total of 29. You divide it by 4. That is what? 7. Well, you see, there is a penalty of 1. And the penalty of 1 will be deducted from your score once those task accomplishment, coherence, vocab, and grammar are already added. And that is something that we want to avoid. So the first question is, were you able to write 150 words? So if you were able to, then you're a candidate to get a 7 already. So you see, you wrote more than 150 words, you're a candidate to get a 7. You wrote less than 150, you will only get 5 for TA. You will not get higher than 6, okay? Because of a penalty. Your score will automatically be 5 for TA and a penalty of 1. Sir, this is the dilemma. I wasn't even able to accomplish 100 words. I only wrote 98. So your examiner will give you an automatic score of 4 for TA and a penalty of 2. And we don't want that. No one is here because they want a 4 or a 5 or a penalty of 1 or 2. We're not here because of that. We're here to get the highest possible score. We want to get 6, we want to get 6.5, we want to get 7, we want to get 8. Aim for an 8 as much as possible. No one's getting a 9, to be honest. So 8 is our highest standard. For the past 2 years, Philippines has only produced an 8 as the highest score in writing. Okay, in 2017, that was our last 8.5. So in 2019, 2020, even in 2021, so far, no one's getting an 8. So let's be happy if you're going to get an 8. That's already a legendary status that you've accomplished. So, but sir, is it enough to just write 150 words? I wrote 150 words, but I wrote the lyrics to my favorite song. Come on, you're going to write a report. If it's not clear, if it's not relevant, if it's not accurate description of the information, then what's the point? Okay, so you have to remember this is also important. You must present a clear, accurate, and relevant description of the information. Now, we shall also remember, okay, no opinion, no objective description. When you say opinion, let's say I saw a map of Cabanatuan City, and you said that map of Cabanatuan City is a beautiful place. That is your opinion. And you say the map of Cabanatuan City is an ugly place. That is your opinion. So you don't use adjectives, okay, to describe appearances. You are going to use adjectives to statistically discuss the ideas. So if we're talking about statics, then you have to use statistical language. If you're going to encounter maps on your test, then you have to use your map language. And it must be academic sounding. Again, majority of your score, many of the errors are committed as early as the beginning. So we want to put an end to the problems encountered by test takers. So you have to accomplish your task. And for you to do so, you have to write 150 words that describes the opinion accurately, clearly, and relevant to the task description. No opinions, and it should be academic sounding. So I will teach you from how to create an introduction, how to present your overview, what are the ideas that you need to put in the specific details, what are the sentences types, how can I begin my sentence even. Lahat yun ituturo ko sa inyo today. You don't have to worry much about that, okay? I got you covered. I got the templates. All you need to do is to sit back and relax and listen to the discussion. You don't have to do anything else. You just have to listen and understand everything here. Again, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask me anything, and we will be talking about that right now. If you have questions, or probably in the end of the lecture where the forum would be engaged, okay? So now, Task accomplishment. We're done with task accomplishment. Any questions with task accomplishment, guys?
Sir, ako po may question.
Mm-hmm.
Yung sa may 150 words po, paano po kung sumobra ng kahit 1 or 2 words? Paano po yung...
Okay. We're looking for more than 150 words. So,
okay lang po yun.
More? About 170 to about 220. So, 170 to 220, that's the healthy range, okay, that we're looking for. So, if you're going to produce 185, that's good. Most of my samples that you will be seeing later, I used the maximum of 220. The one I wrote the beginning, I used about 179. For statistical report, some of them were 192, 183. So about 170, 180 to 220. But sir, can I go beyond 220? Okay, can I go beyond 220? Actually, you can. There's no stopping you from writing even 300 or 400. But you have to remember, the more you write, the more likely it is that you will commit a mistake. So we want to also minimize the occurrence of committing errors as much as possible. And at the same time, we also want to spend most of our energy in dealing with task 2. So that is how you're going to deal with your task accomplishment. So it's okay to exceed as much as possible. I encourage everyone to exceed 150. Wag magsasettle sa 150 lang. Write more than 150. 170 is the minimum number of words that I'm looking for. 220 is probably the maximum. Again, no one's stopping you from going beyond 220, but it will not help your case anymore since you call this, naka-prescribe ito na ito yung ating numbers of words because ito lang yung enough na words para ma-describe mo yung task na meron ka. You don't have to actually go beyond that. Okay?
Thank you po.
All right, Heidi, thank you so much. May questions ka pa? Wala na?
Wala na po.
Okay, nice one. All right, so let's go to the next marking. Our next task here, okay, would be your cohesion and coherence. Again, this is important. Many of the candidates in the IELTS fail in the coherence and cohesion level. So it is also important to put a spotlight in this. Okay, so cohesion and coherence. Now, first of all, I would like to talk about coherence. Coherence. What is coherence? Coherence is the arrangement of your ideas. Are they logically sequenced? Are they following the proper flow? Are they or is your task contain, does your task contain the parts that are required for a writing task 1? So do you have the introduction? Where is it? Do you have the general overview? Where did you put it? Do you have your specific details? How many paragraphs did you write? So that is your coherence. Okay, so your coherence talks more about the organization of your writing. So in terms of organization, to put it simply, it's the paragraphing. How are you going to arrange your ideas and how are you going to put them in logical order? Okay, it's important. Now, did you present all relevant information? Like, let's take a look at that. All relevant information. Sir, question, does it mean all information? No, only the relevant ones. So relevant information. So you have to be the one to pick which among the information presented to you are relevant enough to be included in the presentation of your task. And now, presenting the sequence, okay? Presenting the sequence of the process with accuracy here is also very essential. So in terms of presenting, okay, the sequence of the process with accuracy, we're going to use our statistical language, which is appropriate, okay, for our discussion. Now, that is coherence. But what about cohesion? So as you can see, if you did put a lot of effort in making sure that your presentation is coherent enough. Okay, you arrange them in order, you logically sequence the ideas, you appropriately put those pieces in order. That is coherence. But if they do not have something to link those ideas from one another, look at the word that I'm using, to link the words from one another, then cohesion is not justified. So it's not enough that your essay is coherent. It is also required that your essay must be cohesive. So when I say coherence, it has something to do with the arrangement of your paragraphs. When you say cohesion, this is the connectors. How am I going to interact the ideas with one another? How am I going to correlate the information to each other? What are the words that I can use so that this idea, even though it is located on the top of my presentation, is still connected to my next paragraph, which is found right next to it. So for coherence, it's easy to understand. Paragraphing. Cohesion, connectors. So you're going to divide them and you're going to connect them. That is both coherence and cohesion to make your writing organized. So sir, will you be teaching us what are those connecting words? Will you be teaching us what are those paragraphs and how I can interpret the paragraphs accurately? Yes, that is the content of our lecture today. I'm just telling you what are the ways examiners will be using their band descriptors to score your performance. But at the middle of our discussion, I will be teaching you, let's say, this is the map that you see. How can I make sure that my task is represented accurately and it's properly using the ideas of coherence and cohesion? I'm going to teach you every bits you need to know. How to arrange, where to cut, where to connect, what are the words that I need to add. Okay, so you just have to hang on tight. Now, I will be moving to the next marking. Okay, but before I do that, do you guys have any questions with cohesion and coherence? Okay, so I don't think anyone has a question. So let me move to the next slide, which is vocabulary and lexical resource. So when it comes to vocabulary, all right, vocabulary and lexical resource, these are the things that we need to understand. Did you use, okay, a wide range of words? So if this bullet point asks you the question whether or not you use a wide range of words, then it can only mean one thing. You have to avoid repetition of common words as much as possible. So repetition leads to deductions of your vocabulary lexical resource score, and so as your redundancy. So just to compare repetition, for example, I will be using one word for the entire discussion, and that word is located. Located, 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 located. When the examiner counted your the word located in your report, the examiner found out that, oops, Kevin wrote 7 located. So I'm going to only give Kevin a 5 in vocabulary because Kevin is not resourceful. Kevin does not have enough resource in terms of lexicon. That's why I'm giving Kevin only 5 in vocabulary. Okay, so you have to make sure to use synonyms. So what are the synonyms of located? I'm going to give you some. Situated, sited, positioned, okay, built, erected. So if they are strategically put up there, so you can use a variety of words you can use a wide range of words. So you don't have to just be specific in using one type of word for the entire essay, because that will not help your case. So avoid repetition. But sir, what the hell is redundancy? Because when you say redundancy, it means the same thing. It is located and situated at. So why are you going to use situated and located at the same time? Situated and located mean the same thing. Okay, so you don't have to repeat the meaning of the word you've already stated. It will not also give you a high band score in lexical resource. It will actually give you deductions, and we don't want any more of that. Okay, so did you use a variety or a wide range of sentence structure? So sentence structures will be taught during our grammar 7. So if you still have time, if you're still with me by that time, then that is even better, because I will teach you all the types of sentences out there and how can you use this variety of sentences to present ideas in your report. And even in your task too, they will be really helpful. So we don't have to stick with just one type of sentence. We have to vary the sentence constructions. Now, connecting words. You will be using connecting words, as I've mentioned, right? Okay, I've mentioned the use of your connecting words in coherence and cohesion. You will be using connecting devices, but we don't just have to use one or two. As much as possible, use a variety of connecting words. And we have a lot of connecting devices that you can use at your advantage. So feel free to use all of them. If you want, feel free to use some of them, but don't just use one or two of them for the entire discussion, okay? Your vocabulary must not contain opinions, okay? So no opinion-laden language. So make sure that your presentation is not only statistically accurate, but also academic sounding. That is included in the first few slides that I've presented a while ago. And then for the last part, as I've mentioned, no repetitions, no redundancies, and please, spelling. Many of the errors committed by my students have got to do with misspelled words. Misspelled words not only take off points from your vocabulary, but they also take off points from your grammar. So we have to be careful. Silly errors are still errors. Hindi pwede yung, oops, ay sorry sir, hindi ko po sinasadya. Sir, hindi ko po nakopya, hindi ko po nakita. We do not have any excuses. No? That's something that we don't really want to happen. So that is your repetitions, redundancies, and misspelled words. Okay? Now, let's go to the next slide. Grammar and accuracy. Okay, did you know that the most common error in IELTS writing is none other than grammar and accuracy? And that is one of the few reasons why I think this grammar and accuracy must be really taken seriously by you, okay? How many grammar lectures do we have in the branch? So we have your grammar 1, talks about the subject, grammar 2, your subject-verb agreement, grammar 3, your tenses, grammar 4, the one I discussed last week was modal verbs and conditionals. Grammar 5 is going to be our modifiers, adjectives, adverbs. Grammar 6 is your prepositions. Grammar 7 will be your sentence construction. We also have the grammar for IELTS. We have the grammar 8 and 9, even 10. So a total of 11 lectures just for grammar, because that is how usual grammar errors are committed by candidates in the test. So we want to make sure that our grammatical range is not only simple, but at the same time, if we're going to use a variety of sentence structure, we will be using an accurate manner of doing so. So first of all, as I've mentioned, we want to construct our sentences properly. So in vocabulary, we talked about how important it is to have a variety of sentence construction, but it is also equally important to make sure that their constructions are grammatically accurate. Now, did you observe proper spelling and punctuation use? As I've mentioned, misspelled words not only take off points from your vocabulary, but they also take off points from your grammar. So that is your second bullet point here. And correct punctuation use, we will be using your commas, we will be using your periods, we will be using your apostrophes if we need some possessive cases, but we will not be using apostrophes for the sake of contracting words. No, we can't contract. We do not use contractions here. Avoid contractions, avoid shortcuts. So IELTS writing is formal writing. So we have to make sure to use the formal punctuation. No question marks, no exclamation points. So we're only within the use of your period, your comma, and your apostrophe. Apostrophes are only used for the sake of possessive cases and not for the case of contractions. Okay, so did you observe the correct subject verb agreement and preposition usage? So the most common error in grammar are your subject verb agreement and preposition usage. So don't worry, we will be conducting your preposition in your grammar 6. Your tenses subject discussion was presented to you 2 weeks ago. So grammar 3 is for tenses, grammar 2 is for subject verb agreement, preposition is for grammar 6. So if you haven't attended those lectures yet, then I suggest that you wait for the time that they will be included in the list of our lecture so that you may be able to understand the nature and context of the grammar lectures I've mentioned. So to avoid any grammatical errors whatsoever. Okay, so before we continue, guys, do you have any questions or concerns? Grammar. Questions for grammar? Come on. No one? All right. No one's asking question, okay? Well, sure. Let's continue with my discussion. Okay. So here is an actual task description in the IELTS. So we're going to experience seeing, we're going to break down the anatomy of the task description. So first of all, you will see a statement like this. The map shows the development of Meadowside Village and Fontaine over 3 different time periods. So we have the 1962, we have the 1985, and we have the present. Now, the task for us is to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant and write more than 150 words. Again, I want to put it here. I want to put the highlight here. Write more than 150 words. It is included in your task. It is very important to produce a report that contains more than 150 words. I will not be highlighting this any further. I bet you already know the importance of producing a report that contains more than 150 words. Okay, so this is what we call the task description. Okay, even if you are muted, I want it to repeat within yourself what we call this. We call this the task description. And task description is a very important part of the summary of what we're going to do. So please, if you can repeat it yourself, that will be great. We call this the task description. Okay, now here is the actual task. So you see here, we have a map. Okay, unfortunately, because of the PowerPoint presentation concerns, I cannot put a very HD version of this. So right now, what we're going to do, okay, is I'm going to let you understand what the parts of the map that we have here right now. So here is the Meadowside Village in this island right here. Okay, not literally an island, but this is the territory of Meadowside Village. Now, you see there is a road that goes through. Okay, it runs from the western section and it runs through the northern area of Meadowside Village. Now, on the other side, on the opposite, on the eastern area is where you can see Fontaine. And Fontaine okay, we have a railway that begins in the eastern direction heading towards the north. Okay, that is the map of Meadowside Village and Fonton in 1962. Now, in 1985, the location is still the same. But what's the difference now? By 1985, okay, by 1985, Meadowside Village expanded. We now have leisure complex here. We have the housing estate here. We have the superstore in the southern area. And the previous small road has now become wider and now extended towards Fonton. So you guys are seeing the picture here, okay? I'm not writing anything. We're not still on the parts of the task. I'm just trying to interpret what's in our map because it's not in HD. Okay, and lastly, we have the map, okay? We have the map of Meadowside and Fonton in its present condition. And it is labeled now. Okay, Meadowside, which is a village previously, is now a suburb. The leisure complex still remains where it was on the previous years. The housing estate was larger now. The superstore is still located on its previous location, but there is now a business park, a station, a hotel in the middle of the map, and the railway has now been extended towards the middle of the map. That is what our task is. So first of all, I just want everyone to see that this is our task description. Okay, this is our task description. Don't worry, you will see them often today. We will be referencing the task description very often. So even if you don't copy or even if you don't take screenshot, we will be seeing this because this is important in understanding the task for IELTS. So this is the map. The map shows the development of Meadowside Village. This is your task description. Okay, this is the entire task description until 150 words. The 150 words, write more than 150 words is still included in our task description. It is important instruction in our task, so we have to comply by writing more than 150 words. So next, here goes. Here's the entire map. Okay, I just want you guys to understand what the appearances of a task here. So now in doing an introduction, okay, now we reach the part where we're going to make an introduction. So we are going to begin. So introduction is the part of your task, okay, that is found at the beginning, at the top part of your report. So we call it the introduction, or sometimes I would refer to it as the introductory paragraph. So what are the ways in which we can introduce the content better? So first is we want to paraphrase the task description. So again, we will be referring to the task description again. So we will be returning to the task description, what it is, what I can do to make my introduction statistical in nature. How can I make this instructional? How can I make this academic? Well, you can do that by first paraphrasing the task description. Sir, what is paraphrasing? So first, I want you to understand what is paraphrasing. So paraphrasing is a combination of two techniques. The first technique is what we call the rewording. So rewording is this technique that you use to change the words into synonyms. So for example, Kevin, where do you live? So I will answer by I reside at Gapan City, or I reside in Gapan City. So what I did is I placed I live with I reside, which is rewording. So I just changed the live into reside so that it does not become the same. Okay, so that is rewording. Now the other technique is changing the sentence structure. So when I say changing the sentence structure, Kevin, where do you live? Gapan City is where I live. So I put the subject and the verb in the end, making the sentence structure from active into passive. That is your changing the sentence structure. But in paraphrasing, we combine the two techniques. We reword and we also change the sentence structure. So what I'm going to do is that instead of saying I reside or Gapan City is where I live, I'm going to say that Gapan City is my place of residence. I literally answer the question. I used my own words, but I did not went far. I only used the context of the narrative of the question and I made it my own by paraphrasing it. That is the concept of paraphrasing. Sir, I'm having tough time understanding paraphrasing. I don't think I can do that. Don't worry, I got you covered. I have templates. All you have to do is to memorize them. All you have to do is to understand where or in which situations we can use the templates for. Okay, so that is our first technique. We introduce the content using our own words. So we will be using synonyms. Avoid copying words from the task description. So it is important that when you introduce your statistical report, you are going to underline words from the task description. So we underline words strategically, not because we want to copy the words, but because we want to avoid copying them. You got the point? So we are underlining the words from the task description because those are the words that I have to avoid repeating. Okay, as much as possible, come up with at least 4 to 6 new words. Okay, come up with at least 4 to 6 new words and then present the introductory overview. What is within the scope of the general idea found within the context of your introduction? Okay, so in introduction, this is what you're going to do. You paraphrase, you introduce the content in your own words, but before you do that, you underline the words from the task description so that you will have an idea what words are you going to avoid copying, what are the words that you have to come up with synonym, and as much as possible, provide 4 to 6 new words. So if your task description contains certain words like this, then you will be changing them into something synonymous with one another and present the introductory overview. So how? Okay, let me start with this. Okay, so words to use. So the first 2 words that I am going to begin my introduction would be either the presentation or the illustration. Sir, why am I seeing another? Why am I seeing another? Why am I seeing this, the map? Okay, if, listen to me closely, listen to me carefully. If you see either, okay, if you see either the presentation or the illustration at the beginning of your task description, then you don't have any other choice but to use the map. But if it's the other way around, you see the map. Okay, listen, you see the map as the first 2 words of your task description, then you will be using either the presentation or the illustration. Feel free to use. If you are much more comfortable using the presentation, pick presentation. If you're much more comfortable doing illustration, then pick the illustration. Okay? But for me, whenever I will do a statistical report, a static writing, I feel much more comfortable using the presentation. And if it is a map or a cycle or a diagram, I'm much more comfortable using the illustration. Now let us go back, okay? Let us go back to the task description right here. No, you will be seeing it here, rather. Okay. So here's the example. The map, okay? I'm going to stop you right there. The map. You see this? The map. Okay, so the map in this case, all right, this is the word that I see, map. So I will be either choosing presentation or illustration, because if I'm going to use the word the map again, then examiners would think hey, you know what? Kevin basically just copied the first two words from my task description. So I will speak in Tagalog now. Nakita mo, ginamit ang salitang the map sa umpisa ng task description. Hindi mo na pwedeng gamitin si the map sa umpisa ng introduction mo. Ang gagamitin mo na is si presentation at si illustration. Kasi nga, ayaw nating magmukhang inulit mo lang ang words na nandoon sa task description. So, it makes you original. Okay? It adds to the originality. Sir, what if it's the other way around? Ang nakita ko po, the presentation. And then, feel free to say the map. Feel free to use the illustration. It's up to you. So if you see the map, then you use presentation, illustration. If you see the presentation, then you use the map and illustration. If you see illustration, then choose map and presentation. So as to avoid repeating the words from the introduction. Are we clear, guys? Come on, answer me. You have questions here? Okay, no one's asking questions, I will be asking questions. Sir Richard, meron po ba kayong question, Sir Richard? Okay, so Richard's not answering. What about you, Emil? Do you have any questions, Emil?
Wala pa po, sir, so far.
Okay. So, Emil, you already know na kapag nakita mo yung map sa introduction, either presentation or illustration lang ang pagpipilian mo. Tama?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I hope na may apply natin yan sa ating mga practices in the future. Okay,
Yes,
so if you guys don't have any questions, then I don't have any other choice but to proceed with my discussion. So, the map. We're done with the map already. Okay, that's why I put a strike through, okay, with this. Now, I want you to look at this part. Okay, I want you to look at this part. Shows. This is the verb used in the task description. Okay, so what verbs can I use to replace shows with? Well, it's easy. You can either select here, gives information about. You can select provides data on. You can presents information on. You can use compares. You can use shows comparison about. So if I use the presentation, then I will use illustrates. If I use the illustration, I will use presents. If there are multiple maps involved, then I will use compares. But this one, you have to be careful. Shows comparison about. If the word show, especially in this case, is used in the task description, then we cannot use shows anymore. So the illustration gives information about the map of Meadowside Village and Ponton. The presentation provides data on the map of Ponton and Meadowside. The illustration compares the maps of Meadowside Village and Ponton in 3 different time periods. They include 1962, 1985, and present. So you see, that is how we come up with the first 5 words in the introduction. Now, tell me, is beginning your introduction a difficult thing or not? Heidi, is it a difficult task?
Medyo po.
Yeah, you just have to remember the words. If I see shows, I will not be using shows anymore. Then I will use gives information, provides data, presents information, or compares. Or if I use presents, I will use illustrates. Or if I use illustration, I will use presents. It's not difficult.
Okay po, okay.
You have to remember, okay? It's a default. We don't change them. We just think, hey, ano kayang gagamitin ko today? That's it. All right? So it's not a difficult task. Okay, so, sir, are you going to provide us with a handout for this? Because I don't have time to copy. I don't have time to take a screenshot because, you know, my device hindi ko po kabisado ang aking laptop or my phone lags kapag po nag-screenshot ako or konti na lang po aking memory. Okay lang guys, I will provide you with a handout for this. Okay? I got you. I will be sending it to you via PDF, both on our Discord server and our Facebook group. And I'm also going to link the file on the description of my YouTube video after I upload this today. So that's it. That is the first 5 words for your introduction. Now, after I'm done with my first 5 words, what now? Okay. For you to come up with a legit introduction, you have to remember this. Your task must always contain 2 sentences, okay? 2 sentences. You cannot write 1 sentence. You cannot write 3. You only write 2 sentences, okay? So, a minimum, maximum, golden number, 2 sentences. 1 sentence for the map illustrates the blah, blah, blah. And the second sentence is what are the things that you're going to add. Okay, you're not supposed to provide any specific details here yet. Okay, so what does the map represent? Does it represent a specific region or location? What are the different areas compared, if there are comparisons, or are there comparisons between time periods? Is it a map that compares the changes between distinct timelines, one in 1962, one in 1985, and one in the present? Yes. So that is how I'm going to put an introduction right here. So take a look at my sample introduction for our task right here. All right. The map shows, okay, the map shows the development of Meadowside Village and Fontaine. This is literally the task description. Okay. The map shows the development of Meadowside Village and Fontaine over 3 different time periods: 1962, 1985, and present. So this is my sample introduction. First, the illustration, sorry, the presentation. So why did I use presentation? Because map has been used here in my task description. That is why I am using now the presentation. So the presentation compares the map of Meadowside Village and Fontaine. It includes the changes in 1962, 1985, and the current appearance of the locations. That's it. I wrote 2 sentences. I included all the basic information, especially what the maps are presenting and the periods that they're trying to compare each other. So that is important. Next, the illustration gives information on the development of both Meadowside Village and Fontaine. The locations indicate 3 different time periods, namely 1962, 1985, and the present. That is also another sample. So I want you guys to have an originality for each of the introductions that you make. So the illustration gives information on the development of both Meadowside Village and Fontaine, and the locations indicate what? 3 different time periods. What are they? 1962, 1985, and the present. That is how I introduced here. So samples for the entire task here will be posted on our group today after the discussion. So you don't have to copy anything. I just want you guys to have an understanding of how from this task description, we were able to produce this sample. We're able to produce this introduction. Okay, guys? All right. So how long do you think is the enough time that you should spend as a candidate in coming up with an effective introduction? How long? Jardine Lance, how long do you think?
Mga 2 minutes lang, sir.
2 minutes. That's good. That's the answer I'm looking for. 2 to 3 minutes will be my prescribed time for you to come up with an effective introduction. That includes what the map is about, what is it trying to present, whether you're comparing distinct areas or whether you are comparing changes between the previous time with another time and the present. Some of the maps that you will notice contain features of proposed changes in the future. So for example, here is the map of the university sports complex. Okay, so I'm going to show you. Here is the map of a university sport complex. So here's the present map. Okay, so here is the present map of the university's sports center. And then below it, we see the future plan for it. So it's actually the same. We're following the same principle for the university and the Fountain Meadow side. So you have to include that the map shows distinctions between the present layout with the future outline. So that's what you have to include in your introduction. So since Jordan mentioned that we are only going to spend 2 minutes in making an introduction, I will have a timer here. I want everyone to make a legitimate introduction for me. Okay, I have my timer right here. I'm going to put this. Okay, I have my timer. I will be giving you not 2, but I will be giving you 3 minutes. 3 minutes to come up with an effective introduction. So here are all the things you need. You have the task description, you have the entire task. Okay, you don't have to mention about the outdoor course or leisure pool. It will come later. We don't have to be really specific about this. You just have to present an introduction. So I want everyone to write an introduction. If you don't have your pen and paper with you right now, then you can use your phones or whatever method is available. I will call people after 3 minutes to present their own introduction. Okay? So your 3 minutes of preparation and coming up with an effective introduction begins right now. Good luck. Okay. 2 minutes, 20 seconds have gone by. You still have 30 seconds to complete your task. All right, guys, time is up. So I will now call people and ask them about their introduction, okay? So first of all, let's do this randomly from the bottom. Okay, so Sheena and De Guzman. Sheena,
Yes,
how's
sir.
your introduction?
Ano po, sir?
Did you make the introduction?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can I hear it?
Okay po, sir. The illustration gives information about the structure design of a university sports center. It includes the current appearance and after reconstruction.
Okay, that's a very nice content. I actually like the word design that you used. Good job on that. So thumbs up, Sheena. Good job. What
Thank you
about
po, sir.
Richard? Richard, can I hear the introduction that you made? Richard?
Sir, wala, sir.
Wala, okay, sige. So Richard, no worries if you didn't make one. Feel free to practice whenever you have your free time, okay? So, okay, let's talk about Jardine Lance. Jardine Lance, let's hear from you about your introduction.
The illustration gives information about the present layout of a university sports complex and how it will look in the future development.
Okay, so how many sentences was that?
Tatlo po.
Tatlo?
Ay, dalawa.
Dalawa, okay. So always remember, you cannot exceed 2 sentences. You cannot write 1 sentence. Actually, I like the feature you put in your introduction, but the problem is you already jump right into the present and the future. That is actually best included in the second sentence. So you just have to give a brief description what the topic is. It's about presenting a map to you, and the map is the university sports center. And what do they compare? They compare the present, they compare the future. So it's actually good. It's a good take that you did, but honestly, it needs more time for it to become more polished. Okay, so it will take time, Jordan. Don't worry. Okay, now let's call Emil. Emil, how's your introduction? Can we hear it?
Hi, sir. So, hindi ko natapos yung second. So, ito po yung nagawa ko. So,
Okay.
the illustration presents the previews and then the new design of sports center. It includes the new infrastructure.
Okay. So you already know what I said about Jordan's introduction. It's actually a very similar pattern you did. You
Yes,
already put the present and the future. So what I'm trying to do as a standard is somewhat near with Sheena, because her presentation is just a brief description. Okay, here is the introduction. The first sentence is about what the map is, and the second sentence is about what the times are included. So that's it. You don't have to mention about the present and the future, because what happened in your second sentence is you already repeated the information you already gave, and that's pretty crucial in an introduction, because introduction leaves a lasting impression to the examiner. So you have to make it a bit more concise next time. Emil, okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right, Emil, it's fine. It's fine. For beginners, it's actually expected for you to have problems like that. But, you know, we will be probing what those problems are so that we cannot commit those problems anymore when the time of our exam comes. So what about you, Aljay and Nina? Can we hear your introduction?
The plans display how a university's sports center looks now and how to redevelop it. Parang kulang pa, sir.
Oh, yes. What was the first 2 words you used, Mayor?
One sentence lang, sir. Ano? The plan
The
display.
plan. Okay. So I want to put the highlight here, the plan. Oh, so you have to change the word plans into the maps or the illustration or the presentation. So that's the first problem that we encountered in your introduction. And the other is the second sentence must be as neat as possible. So
Yeah.
who else? I've already called everyone. Okay, Nina. Does Nina have her example, Sir Aljay?
Yes po.
Try ko lang, sir.
Yes, Nina. Let us hear it.
The illustration presents information of the design of a university sports center from present and future plans. It
Mhm.
shows the reconstruction of the infrastructure.
Okay. Actually, I like what you did with the reconstruction of the infrastructure, but that second sentence would probably be better if you put it together with the first sentence. Something like the illustration presents the university's redevelopment infrastructure. And then the second sentence would be it compares the present layout and the future prescribed outline. Something like that. But I like the idea, the total idea about that. It's somewhat near with my standard. So here's my standard. Sheena was able to caught up with that standard. You presented something similar as well, Nina. You did a pretty decent job on that. Good job. Okay, and last would be Heidi. Heidi, let us hear your sample of an introduction.
Sir, pass po muna ako. Di ako nakagam. Nasa CRPN ako.
Oh, it's okay. Personal reasons like that. All right. So it's fine, Heidi. We will be proceeding with our sessions now. So I would like to let everyone know I'm very proud of your sample introductions. They were actually very neat. This is the first time that we did this live, and you guys were able to present a very neutral, very academic, very statistical discussion. So I'm really proud of this batch. Good job, guys. Good job. Hands up. So this is my basic sample. So I just want to show my sample here. The presentation shows a plan. It's very neat for a university sports center. That's it. That's the very brief discussion. And then there are two maps included, including the present layout and the proposed feature structure, because that's what they contain. They contain the present layout, they contain the proposed feature structure, and the first line is about the university sports center. So that's just neat. So you just have to divide where the important information will be featured in your introduction. So this is just my sample. Don't worry, you will have a copy of this later. But honestly, the version of Sheena and Nina are actually very great as well. So good job on those guys. So guys, let's continue with more of the samples that we have. Okay. Here is another task that I have for you. So the map below is the town of Garlston. A new supermarket is being planned for the town. Okay, so I will be using my laser pointer. The map shows two possible sites for the supermarket. The task here is for us to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. And we will be writing more than 150 words. Okay, now we see that this is the map of Garlston. Okay, so probably our introduction goes something like the illustration presents the map of Garlston. That's it. And then second sentence. Now I have a question for everyone. Are we going to include that Garlston has a population of 65,000 in the introduction? That's my question for Richard. Richard and Heidi, I'll be asking questions to you since you were not able to write or you were not able to present your introduction. So first, let me ask Richard. Richard, do you think I should include 65,000 population in my introduction?
Yes, sir.
Okay, your answer is yes. What about
Yes.
you, Heidi? Do you think I should include the population 65,000 in my introduction?
I think, sir, hindi na po kasi naka-indicate na po dun kung ilan yung population.
Okay, actually, we will be torn between whether to put 65,000 or not. Well, the answer here is probably no. Okay, and why is that? Okay, why do I think that I should not include population of 65,000? It's because 65,000 is a specific detail. And there is a part of our statistical report where specific details are put, and they are in the body of our discussion. So for me, I will not be putting the 65,000 because this is already specific detail. And as candidates, we shall remember that our task is to present the introductory overview, the important details. Okay, so avoid any numbers or figures except if they are years. Okay, so always remember that. So let's proceed. So here is my sample task description. I want to put some annotations in the task descriptions first. I'm going to color this blue. Okay, so you should spend about, okay, the map below is the town of Carlston. So the words used here are map, and then Garlston. A new supermarket is planned for the town. So I will be using the word, the illustration presents the information about the map of Garlston. I didn't use the town of Garlston because that's the same structure. Okay, so if you don't have any choice but to repeat the word, just make sure you don't repeat it the same way that it was presented in the task description. Next, there are two projected locations for construction, namely S1 and S2, which are the proposed sites for the supermarket. Okay, before I proceed, this is my sample introduction. Does anyone have any questions or concerns or any clarifications? Let's start with Sheena. Sheena, do you have a question?
Wala po, sir.
Okay. What about you, Jordan? Do you have any concerns?
Wala din naman po, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. What about you, Emil? Do you have any clarifications?
Wala pa po, sir.
Okay, nice. So guys, since you don't have any questions, the copy of this exact introduction, the copy of the comparison, from top to bottom of this lecture will be converted into a PDF so that you may be able to have a personal copy. If you want, you can print it. If you want, you can just let it be stuck in your phone. It's up to you. You're big now, so you can decide for yourself. But that's it. I'm going to provide you with all the information you need so you don't have to copy this in a traditional way. All right, so let's continue. So general overview. So we're done with the first part of the introduction. Now, the second part is the general overview. The general overview is where we present the key trends. Okay, when you say key trends, what are the changes made? What are the generalizations we can make? So general overview is very similar with conclusion. So to be honest, this is how a task one works. You have the introductory paragraph, okay? And then you have the general overview that serves as the conclusion. So to put it simply, the conclusion of a statistical report comes right after introduction? Yes, that is the critical part that you need to understand about a writing task one statistical report. Their conclusion must be found after the introduction, and we call it general overviews. In this part, we present the key trends, the general ideas. Okay, let me put some check marks here. We have to avoid providing specific details, whether we're going to say that housing, or there is now a leisure park, there is now a sports complex. So we're not going to mention that. We can write 1 to 2 sentences here. So what I want you to put in the general overview is the changes. What happened? Did it change? Yes. In what way did it change? Did it change drastically? did it change exponentially? If it is this big, okay, if it is this big, okay, if it is this big previously, and it is now this big, do you think we can say it increased in size? Yes. Do you think we can say it expanded? Yes. Were there any changes in locations? Yes. If there are changes in locations, if there were some added amenities, then that is the general idea that you have to include. Okay. So let's take a look at how this works. Look, okay, I have here the 1962. I have here the 1985 and the present. Okay, so how am I going to come up with an effective general overview here? So in 1962, let's take a look. We only have a small Meadowside village and we have Fonton. They are completely far apart. They're completely away from one another. They are totally separated from each other. Okay, by 1985, there were obvious changes in the infrastructure because in Meadowside, by the year 1962, there were no infrastructure found. Probably there were houses, but we can't assume that since there were no legends that indicate there were houses, right? So Meadowside Village, now we have the leisure complex here in 1985, we have the housing estate, and then we have the superstore. So obviously there were added amenities. Not only that, if you compare the size, look at Meadowside in 1962. Now look at Meadowside now. It's like 4 times increase in size. But not only Meadowside, Fonton also increased in size. Look at Fonton right here. Okay. Now Fonton extends right through here. And then this road extended from Meadowside to Fonton. Well, I'm not going to put all the things into perspective. I want you just to understand there were some key changes. I'm not going to mention that the changes are leisure complex, housing estate, superstore. I'm just implying that there were changes. I am specifically discussing that there were some changes. Hindi ko siya iisa-isahin sa overview ko. Okay, just want you guys to understand that. And look at what happened now. They combined. They merged together. From 2 separate locations, they become one. And Meadowside turned into a suburb of Fonton. So that is what I'm going to include in my general overview. Overall, take a look. Overall, there was a marked increase in the size of Meadowside Village over the specified time or specified period as it merged together with Fonton with changes in the infrastructure, housing, and facilities. I did not mention where they were. I did not mention how big the changes were. I just included the general idea that altogether from the beginning until the end, changes will be noticed. And in terms of size and in terms of the amenities that were added throughout the period described. Now, this is a very helpful word when it comes to presenting the general overview. Okay, this is a very helpful word when it comes to presenting the general overview, the word overall. We cannot use any other words. We cannot use in conclusion. We cannot use in to conclude. We cannot use generally. We cannot use in general. We can only use one word, and that word is overall. And please, please, please never ever forget the comma. There should always be a comma when you write an overall, because overall as a word is considered a connecting device. So it hints that if I am the examiner, I am reading the contents of your answer. When I read this word, I read the word overall, it means that you are already in the general overview of your task. So it serves as a landmark of your report. So please use that word and please don't forget the comma. Okay? All right, let us see some more samples. Okay? All right, take a look at this. Here's the university's sports center. Okay, let me use my annotations here. Where's my spotlight? Okay, so here is the university sports center present. So we have the outdoor courts right here. We have the outdoor courts on both sides. Then we have the inside. If you compare it, okay, if you compare it side by side, this is the present, and then this is the future plan. So as you can see, there are many proposed changes for the current condition of the University Sports Center. It really will undergo total redevelopment. There will be so many things added to the place. Like the gym will be extended. There will be now a dance studio, 2 of them. The changing room would be added here. We also have one changing room here, and then we have one. There will be now a cafe, a sports shop, another changing room which now makes the changing room 3. And then if we had a 25-meter pool in the present, then there is a proposed leisure pool, which is the replacement of the outdoor court in the present time. So this is how I do, okay? This is how my overview went. So overall, the size of the current sports center is much smaller, okay, as compared to the suggested plan, okay? And additionally, the proposed renovation for the facility would include massive changes. Take a look at the word that I used, massive changes in the entire structure, as additional amenities are intended to be added, okay? Or included, if you don't want to repeat the word added again. So that is my sample overview for this. Okay, now, what about our next sample? This one. Overall, I'm going to use red here. The proposed locations for the new supermarket are far from each other. You guys see that this is S1, this is the proposed supermarket, and then this is S2, the proposed supermarket. They are completely far away from one another. The S1 site is situated in the northwestern section. Here is northwestern section of Garlsden, while S2 can be found in the center of the town. Here is your S2, and in the color indicates dirty white. So town center, center of the town, middle section of the area. So they are completely far apart from one another. So before I proceed with the specific details, I want everyone to ask me questions if you have any about overview. I presented to you 3 different types of overview, and you will have the copies of them for sure after this. So any questions, guys? No questions?
Sir,
Yes, Heidi.
hindi po ako nakasunod eh. Magkaano po ba kayo ng copy na to? Naka-record po, ano?
Yes, it is recorded. I will be posting this on my YouTube account, my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest that you should. And then I'm also going to convert the exact PowerPoint presentation into a PDF file, which I've mentioned you can print as a printout, as a handout for you. So if you want, you can print it yourself. Feel free to do that. If you don't want to, if you want to use just your phone as your entire copy, that's fine.
Sige po, sir. Thank you po.
Sir, 2 sentences lang po yun, no?
Actually, Nina, you can write 1 sentence for overview. 1 sentence minimum. But I suggest that if you're going to just come up with 1 sentence, because overview should technically be shorter than introduction. So if introduction consists of, let's say, 40 to 50 words, then it is only right that your general overview should contain 35 to 40, around that inclusion of words. So for the meantime, my suggestion is if you're going to write a 1 sentence overview, you should write it as a compound sentence. Because if it's just one simple, one line, stand alone, parang hindi siya maganda aesthetically. Parang hindi lang siya pasok sa isang report na parang after introduction with 2 to 3 lines, meron ka lang overview na maikling-maikli na one line. It does not present the general feature because we have to feature the changes, we have to feature the locations, we have to mention what are the strategic changes of the maps if there are some proposed outline changes. So kailangan nating include yon. So I think sasapat ang isang compound sentence. Pero to simplify your sentence structure, baka kasi instead na maging compound sentence lang maging complex sentence pa siya, 2 sentences would be great. Pero walang gagawa ng 3 sentence sa overview because overview is honestly much shorter compared to introduction. So mas maikli siya dapat.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes, Mayor.
Sir, yung po bang halimbawa yung S1 saka S2, considered po yun as one word each, ganun po ba?
Actually, yes. S1, S2 would be considered one word here.
Okay po. Okay.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much, Alj and Nina, for asking those questions. What about the others? What about Sheena, Emil, Jardine, and Richard? Do you guys have any questions?
Ano po, sir?
Wala naman po, sir.
Okay.
Wala naman, sir.
Okay. All right. We shall continue if you don't have questions. So specific details. This is going to take the majority of your report. So if for introduction you only used 30 words, and then your overview you only used about 20 words, so that's a total of 50. So your specific detail should contain more than 100. So this is where you're going to be putting a lot of work and effort in trying to discuss the things that must be included. Again, relevant information of the discussion. So what we need to understand is that we have to use the present tense except if there is a time element involved. So mostly it is going to be present tense. Especially in Garlston with S1 and S2, we didn't see any timelines there. We didn't see any time expressions. We didn't see any elements of time. So what we're going to do there is we're going to use the present tense of the verb. Okay, we're going to use the present tense of the verb. Present tense. Okay. Now, sir, what if there's time? What if in the map of Meadowside Village and Ponton, I saw the 1962-1985. Then what tenses am I going to use? Then you have to use the simple past tense of the verb because we have a time expression involved. Okay, use words that present the location of the maps clearly. So what do we mean by this? So we want to use words that present the location of the maps clearly. So we're going to use the words situated at, located at, erected on, built on. We use the legends of the map. Meron bang housing? Meron ka ba dyang leisure complex? Meron ka ba dyang supermarket? Where are they? So make comparisons if you're asked to choose between two. Sorry, my spelling here was wrong. It should be TWO. Okay. Or even 3 locations. So make comparisons if you're asked to choose between 2 or even 3 locations. Now, interpret the changes in the map. But when you interpret, you have to follow the proper flow. So if you're going top to bottom, then on the next paragraph, you also have to go top to bottom. If you need to go left to right, then you have to go left to right throughout. What else? Interpret the changes and use the connecting devices, because connecting devices, discourse markers, they are really a big help in enhancing our coherence and our cohesion. So what are those discourse markers? What are those connecting devices? I'm going to let you guys see them, and I'm going to let you understand how we can use their functions effectively. Okay, so first of all, if you're describing changes over a number of years, check the key carefully. Okay, if you are describing changes over the number of years, check the key carefully. Familiarize yourself with the words showing location and the point of points of the compass was constructed in the northwest. Constructed northwest of the city. To the northwest of the city. In the center of, next to, adjacent to, situated, located. So there are a lot of words that you can use. So here are the list of words that you will be using for the entire discussion. So again, you don't have to copy. It's up to you if you still want to, but I'll be providing this handout to you later on. So here are some of the words that you should be familiar about. So was constructed in the northwest, constructed north of the city. To the northwest of the city, in the center of, next to, adjacent to, situated, and located, so that may be able to show the changes in the map. Now, what about describing changes? What are the sentence structures? What are the words that I can use to present the changes in the map? Well, here they are. If you want to present the changes, you may use the words changed into. You can use added. Halimbawa, before, yung isang sports complex, okay? Meron lang siyang left and right wing. Tapos magdadagdag siya ng amenity dun sa bandang north part, sa bandang itaas ng map. So added. So ano yung idinagdag? Added changing room. Where? Sabihin mo kung where. Added changing room to the north of the university's sports complex. Gave way to, nagbigay daan. Ibig sabihin, dati mayroon doon, pinalitan, became, turned into, made way for, converted. Okay? Built, itinayo, bago. Erected, itinayo, bago. Replaced, pinalitan. Sino dito yung mga pinalitan na? Sorry. Okay. So, replaced is before, there was some, let's say, here, is where the church is located. And now, the church was demolished. It was changed into a hotel. So now it was replaced by a hotel. That's what the word we're going to use. So, ito yung ginagamit ko na effective pagdating sa, ano nyo guys? Pagdating sa general overview. Pag nahihirapan ka na sa general overview, at maglalagay ka ng simple idea, pwede mong gamitin to. That overall, the map of Cabanatuan City witnessed considerable changes throughout the period described. Additionally, many amenities were added in the past 20 years in the town. Pwedeng gamitin tong witness considerable changes. Sir, gagamitin daw po ni Nina yung changes. Ano naman po pwede kong gamitin? LJ, pwede mong gamitin si development. Okay? So that hindi kayo pare-parehas. Meron kayong differences. Okay? So vary the use of your words so that it doesn't sound less original than what we intended it to be. Another, choosing locations. You are asked to choose which is the best location for a sports complex. Okay, describe. It is proposed that the new sports complex will be built. For example, it is proposed that the new housing estate will be built on the northwestern side of Cabanatuan City. And explain, why do you think this site is more suitable than the others? And then describe the amenities which are nearby. Example, it is strategic that the sports complex will be built in the north area of the town because it will be next to the housing. It will be convenient for motorists. It will be within easy reach of commuters, and it is not far from the city center. So nagpapakita ka na ito, halimbawa yung S1, yung S2 natin na supermarket, mas okay siyang itayo sa S1 because it is next to the houses, because it is convenient for motorists. It is within easy reach of citizens. It is not far from the sports complex. So use these words so that you may be able to show that there are amenities nearby that gives advantage to the proposed location. So what are the advantages of those ideas? Later, I will show you this in practice. Okay, example to. So this is how the body of my essay would look like. Okay, this is how the body of my essay would look like. So you see here in 1962, we have the Meadowside Village here, and we have the Fontaine right here. So in the beginning, look at what I did. In 1962, both Meadowside and Fontaine were completely separate with no roads or rail connecting them. Do we see a road connecting them? No. Do we see a railway connecting them? No. While Fontaine had a railway running through it to the north, so through it to the north, galing siya sa north, papunta dito, Meadowside, located to the west of Fontaine, okay, only had a small road from the west. Take a look. Fontaine had a railway running through the north. Sorry, my mistake. Fontaine is right here. Okay, Meadowside, located to the west. Here is the west, which is the opposite of Fontaine, only had a small road from the west. So how many paragraph for 1962? 1. How many paragraph for 1985? 1. How many paragraph for present? 1. I did a general overview previously, and then I have my introduction. So total for the Fontaine and Meadowside Village map statistical report will be 5 paragraphs. Okay, so listen to me. How many maps you see will be equivalent to how many paragraphs in the body that you need to write. I repeat, how many maps you see is equivalent to how many paragraphs in the body in the specific details that you have to indicate. So, sir, let us talk about the Garlsden S1 and S2. How many paragraphs? 2. I'm going to explain later why. Sports complex, university sports complex. So we have the present, we have the future. So I'm going to also write 2. Now, your Meadowside and Fontaine is a different case of a map because they have 3 different sets. So you have the 1962 map, you have the 1985 map, and you have the present map. So that is the reason why I will be coming up with 3 paragraphs here. Okay, so let us continue. All right, now, by 1985, take a look. By 1985, there was a considerable growth in the size of Meadowside, Village, and Fontaine. That's a very general statement at the beginning. The small road in Meadowside Village had been converted into a main road and was also extended to the east to connect with Fontaine. So take a look at this. The previously small road was changed into a main road. It now turned into a highway. And there is now an extension of that road that goes to Fontaine, or Fontaine the other way around. Meadowside, moreover, had also developed a housing estate in the west. So here is the west. When you say west, it's on the left. When you say east, it's on the right. A housing estate in the west, a leisure complex, and a supermarket in the south. So there is a supermarket here in the south, and here is your leisure complex. Now, let's proceed to the next map. Currently, both Meadowside, which is now a suburb, take a look at that. Both Meadowside, which is now a suburb, and Fontaine are joined. The railway line, which runs through Fontaine, is extended to the west. So here is the railway line. It is now extended here, where a train station is built, and this is a station. To the north of the station, where is the north? The upper part. So here's the station. Let's go up. There is now a hotel, and there's now a business park right here. And that is how I interpreted my task for this example. So guys, let's cover everything about the tense. What are the type of tenses that we used here? Let me go back, take a look at the previous one. We used the past tense here. Where, had, located, had, okay? On this part, we use past tense still. Bakit? 1985 is still in the past. Was, had converted, had developed, okay? And then here, we use the is, runs, is extended, is now, are. So we're using the present tenses of the verb because we are in the current era. So that's how you do it. Okay, now, here is the body of Garlsden. By the way, before I proceed to Garlsden, do you guys have any questions with the Meadowside Village and Suburb body? Any questions at all? Okay, since no one is asking questions, then I will be discussing the body of our Garlsden right here. So take a look. So the map of Garlsden has a population of 65,000. That is the beginning of my discussion here. The town is surrounded by a countryside. So here is the Garlsden. Here is your countryside. Am I correct when I use the word surrounded? Yes, because it's totally around it. That utilizes the majority of its land area. And the housing zones are located both in the northern and southern sections of the map. So here is the countryside. It is surrounding the entire structure. And this countryside uses the largest portion of the map. It utilizes the majority of the land area. Now, here's the first housing zone, and here's the second housing zone. So take a look at your legend. So here's the brick red color. That is your housing. Okay. The industry is much darker. So here's your industry. So the second most largest area of Garlsden is the industry that engulfs the town center where the vehicles are not allowed. So here is your industry. And then here's the town center. I've mentioned no traffic zone. What I did, I said vehicles are not allowed. Additionally, it also has a railroad that bypasses diagonally. So here's the railroad. Is it diagonal? Yes, it's a curved diagonal line. All right, so here is your rail way, okay, that bypasses the town diagonally. It begins from the northwestern. Again, here is the north. West is your right, so your secondary direction. Northwestern section where a main road going to Hindon is adjacent. Again, when you say adjacent, katapat. So here is the line, okay, the beginning of the railway. And then here is the road going to Hindon. They are parallel. They are side by each other. Okay. Towards the southeast end, so northwest, you run diagonally towards the southeast. And then there is a path that goes to Cranston. Furthermore, another main road is situated at the southwest. Here is the southwest going to Branston. So I discussed what the maps amenities are, where they can be found. So generally, if I'm going to close the map, if I'm going to get the map itself from you, you can still picture out exactly what are the contents of it. Para bang na-visualize mo ano yung itsura ng map, even without looking at it, because of the presentation that you did. Okay, next paragraph. S1 is proposed to be situated, okay? S1 is proposed to be situated at the northwestern side of Garlsden. Where's the northwest? Here. Where? Okay, between the railway and the main road. So here's the railway and the main road going to where? Going to Hindon with a population of 10,000. It is near the industry. So yung tinuro ko sa inyo na it's convenient, it is within easy reach of, it is convenient for, ayan na. That makes it convenient for consumers. However, being located in the countryside, ito nga, sabi ng countryside, sa maliblib na lugar, okay, remains its disadvantage. On the other hand, okay, we're talking about S2 now. The plan for S2 location is within the city center. Ito siya. Is within the city center, where not only it will be close to the railway, ayun, but also to two major roads. Malapit din siya sa kalsada, papuntang Cranston and Branston. I've mentioned the populations with 15 and 29,000 respectively. Despite this, the drawback of this site is that the town center is a traffic-free zone. Ang disadvantage daw niya is walang sasakyan na pwedeng pumunta doon. So kahit malapit siya doon sa mga kalsada, wala namang pwedeng pumunta na sasakyan. So what I did here, binigay ko yung advantage ng S1, binigay ko din yung disadvantage using however. Binigay ko yung advantage ng S2, binigay ko yung disadvantage ng S2 using despite this. So it's not biased. I'm not being asked to choose. Hindi ako pinamimili, what do I think, which do I think is better? Is it S1 or S2? So what I did, I presented the amenity that are near S1. I presented the structures near S2 so that the report decides for itself which one is better. Okay. All right. So for the future reference, we will be doing this for your activity, but now we will be cutting our lecture off. So now is the time where you can ask me questions po. So bago po tayo magtapos, I want you guys to have or ask me questions if you have any. Okay, so I have Aljay and Nina. Questions, Aljay and Nina. Do you have any?
Sir, wala po. Thank you po.
Okay, so the samples, the words that you can use for sentences, nakapresent din dun sa slides, pwede yung gamitin for your future references. Again, maps are the most common processes. So kaya importante na pag-aralan natin ito. Like there's a tendency sa entire year, 2021, if we're going to get the total, gaano kadalas lumabas si static, gaano kadalas lumabas si process, pantayan. Okay? At ang pinaka madalas lumabas na process would be maps. Pinaka madalas lumabas na static would be table. So they are equally important in this discussion. So kailangan bigyan din natin ng importance itong si map because it would come out much more often as compared to the rest. What about you, Heidi? May questions ka, Heidi?
Sir, yung magbibigay din po kayo ng sample about sa, halimbawa po sa Baytech, kung table naman po ang lalabas na
Yes, we will be having lectures about that sa next week na probably tayo. Kasi ang target natin sa static, 4 pa eh. So line graph, bar graph, table, pie chart. So before understanding table kasi, kailangan alam mo yung approach sa pie chart. Kasi kapag ang table may total, gagamitin natin yung pie chart approach. Pag yung table walang total, gagamitin natin yung bar graph approach. Pag yung table, meron siyang mga time expressions, let's say table, pero may time 1997, 8, 99, 2000, gagamitin naman natin yung line graph approach. So I think maganda, uunahin muna natin yung line graph, bar graph, pie chart bago tayo mag-jump into the table. Unlike ito, si map kasi, it's a totally different entity compared sa ibang processes, pero siya yung pinakamadalas lumabas, kaya naka-separate itong lecture natin sa kanya.
Sige po, thank you po.
Okay. So marami, siguro mga 3 buwan bago mo ma-attendan lahat-lahat ng yon. So, ganun din sa inyo, Richard, Emil, Sheena, Jordan, yeah. Dahil nasa simula pa lang tayo ng klase, aantayin muna natin na maabutan natin yung mga lectures na yan. Okay. What about you, Emil? May tanong ka ba, Emil?
Wala naman po, sir. Thank you po.
Okay, si Emil. Laging walang tanong si Emil eh, oh. Okay. What about you, Jordan? Jordan, may tanong ka ba, Jordan?
Okay na po, sir. Malinaw na po.
Jordan, ang cute naman ng aso na kasama mo dyan sa mo. Aso mo ba yan?
Hindi po, display lang po.
Display. Saan ba yan? Sa museum ba yan?
Opo.
Okay. Saan museum, Jordan?
Sa ano po? Sa...
Yan.
Sa Hong Kong po.
Oh, wow. Hong Kong. Okay. So, what about you, Sheena? Do you have any questions?
None po, sir.
Okay, Sheena. What about you, Richard? Do you have any questions?
Wala po, sir.
Okay. Finally, LJ and Nina, may questions kayo?
Sir, doon po sa lecture po, wala naman po. Pero I thought i-discuss niyo po yung tungkol dun sa, halimbawa po, application for UK.
Paano po? Okay. Sa
Yung
UK?
application for UK, opo.
Okay. Now, I just want to give you an idea kasi naka-attend din ako ng what do you call this? Visa. Okay, Visa Expo pagdating sa mga nurses na gusto mag-UK. And the first step is taking IELTS. Kasi they only need IELTS kahit nga hindi ka RN sa Philippines. All you need to do is a graduate of a nursing course and then meron kang IELTS or meron kang OET. Now, the thing about UK is that once you were able to secure ito pong si IELTS or OET, now is the time po kayo ay kukuha ng CBT, which is sa Philippines. So may mga testing centers po tayo na nag-o-offer ng CBT. So pwede ka maghanap, marami niyan sa Facebook, sa mga websites, pwede nating i-Google, marami nag-o-offer niyan CBT. And then nakuha si CBT, nakuha si IELTS, pwede na natin siyang gamitin for application sa UK. Nasa UK ka na, magiging nurse ka sa UK, pero under probation ka for 6 months. So ikaw ay nag-aaral, ikaw ay nag-duty at the same time, and then ikaw ay magte-take pa ng isang test na tinatawag nating OSCE. So pag na-take mo na si OSCE at ikaw ay nakapasa, ikaw ay isang certified UK RN na ikaw ay sasahod na nakaparehas ng isang nurse na nasa UK. Yon.
Ang dami po palang pagdadaan.
Actually, pinakamadaling path is UK. Kasi all you need to do is to take IELTS and to take the CBT. Wala akong kilalang bumabagsak sa CBT. Parang, ano lang for the sake of may tinake kayong exam na makapunta kayo doon. At wala rin akong kilala na after 6 months, bumalik sa Pilipinas at bumagsak sa OSCE. Dahil madali lang yung exam na yon, related yun sa course nyo. Nurses kayo, alam nyo. Ang mga tanong doon tungkol sa mga pasyente.
Third demo, sir, natin ng college.
Yes, ganun lang yun, sir. Sir Alj, alam ni Sir Alj yan, ganun lang yun. Parang nagde-demo ka lang ng injection, nagde-demo ka lang ng paglalagay ng cream, nagde-demo ka pa ano gagawin sa burn patient. So, walang bumabagsak doon. So, hindi siya mahirap. UK ang pinakamadaling path for nurses. UK ang pinakamadaling path for healthcare workers. So, US kasi, matagal ang process niyan. US is actually worth it. Pero ang suggestion ko kung gusto mo ng agad-agad, within 6 months, nagsimula kang mag-review ng IELTS, nakapasa, within 6 months, nasa UK ka na, gusto mo mag-US, na nasa UK ka na, doon ka na mag-apply. Para yung, yung experience mo, ma-count. Kasi dito sa Philippines, anong mapapala natin? Volunteer, di ba? Tas, di ba, sugod pa sa ano. So, yun lang, delikado. Ayo, bahala, guys. Okay, yun lang ang tanong natin, Ma'am Nina and Heidi.
Ay, sir, meron pa po akong tanong.
Sige, Heidi, okay.
Sir, yung actual exam po ba nun, sabi po ni Sir Flower kasi meron daw po dito sa Kabanatuan yung actual na ng IELTS.
Okay, yes.
Ano po ba yun? Online po ba yun? Through online po ba? Or may venue na ano?
May venue siya. Ang nangyayari kasi sa exam, pupunta kayo doon sa location at kayo ay magte-take ng test. Paano mag-take ng test? Nandoon sa ipapadala ko sa iyo na video later. So it's just yung orientation. Para magkaroon ka na ng idea, yung pala si IELTS, ganun pala yung magiging take ko ng test. Mauuna pala si speaking, speaking, then listening, reading, and writing. And then, sa Kabanatuan, meron, ginaganap yon sa Microtel, kung IDP. Sometimes, ginaganap din nila sa La Parilla. Ginaganap din nila dito kay The Podium, tabi ng New York. Kapag naman British Council, ang kanilang home base ay Harvest Hotel. So doon ginaganap ang mga test. Ngayon, ang speaking, may possibility na ang speaking nyo, meron lang kayong acrylic glass na nakaseparate between you and the examiner. Nakamask kayo na i-interviewin. Tapos, yun yung course ng inyong exam. Pero, lately, mas dumadalas ang virtual. So, eto, nakaharap ako sa laptop, tapos nagko-conversation kami ng examiner. Dito ginagawa yung exam. Sa speaking yon. So, syempre, yung explanation naman nun, paano natin i-improve yon, paano tayo magpa-practice nun, sa speaking lectures ko, attendan nyo.
Sige po, sir. Thank you po.
Okay. Yes, sir. May tanong kayo?
Ano sir, based sa experience mo, sino sir ang mas generous magbigay ng grade? Kay
Well, honestly, sabi ko nga,
IDP.
when it comes to giving grades, unang-una kong i-understand dyan, si British Council kasi lately, madalas sila mag-cancel ng exam. Meron akong student, March 29, 2020 pa. Nakapag-take siya ng exam July pa. Sa sobrang dalas ma-cancel, 7 beses na-cancel ang kanyang exam. Gusto ko bang ma-cancel ang exam ko ng 7 beses? Ayoko. So, mag-IDP ako. Ngayon, si IDP, nandoon yung mga bata na examiner. Ang mga bata, mga baguhan na workers, masipag yan. Yun yung mga walis ng walis. Yun yung mga mayat-maya, punas ng punas. Yun yung masisipag. No? Pagkabaguhan kang nurse, masipag ka sa trabaho. Pag medyo matanda ka ng nurse, medyo masungit ka na sa mga pasyente. May ganun eh. So, ganun din sila. So, sila ay bata, sila ay mapapuna ng mga mali. So, madalas, ililista nila kahit konting pagkakamali. Lista. Matatandang examiner, sabi nila, ano pa ba naman ang gagawin ko sa buhay ko? Tulungan ko na itong magsipasa. So, yun ang idea sa pag-take ng exam. Pero, mag-IDP ka man o mag-British Council, kung hindi ka handa, hindi ka pa rin papasa. Yun lang ang aking idea dyan. Ngayon, simplihan natin. Sa IDP ako mag-exam, mas mahirap ang parameters ng kanilang pag-take ng exam dahil yun nga yung mga batang examiners at doon mas mahirap silang mag-assess. Pero kakayanin kasi may pangarap tayo na gusto natin makaalis ng bansa at para sa ating mga pamilya. Kaya gagawin natin ang lahat na pag-attend ng klase, pagpa-practice, at kung malapit ng exam, sabihin nyo ako para makapag-coaching tayo.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, Mayor, LJ, Ma'am Nina, Heidi, Richard, Sheena, Emil, Jordan, maraming salamat sa pagsama sa atin ngayon sa lecture na ito. Okay? Tuloy-tuloy lang, mag-lunch na kayo. Have a nice day. God bless and good luck. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you po.
Bye po, sir.
Thank you po, sir.